Hi, I'm Sunni, and this is my podcast, Creator, Created, Creating. Short and sweet mindset shifts for intentional life creation. So I want to help us get free of something today. And I've discovered this issue a lot for myself and for most people that I work with, a lot of people that I work with. And that is so let me ask you a question. Like, if you are somebody who sells your work in some way, shape, or form, and you're somebody who sells work that's supposed to make some kind of an effect or a transformation, where the person gets a result, right? Or feels a result, or feels appreciation, or feels, so it could be anything from a product to like a course, to like a session, to like services, anything. A lot of people are actually subconsciously not allowing more sales to come in, more money to come in, more success to come in, because they have no control over the results of the other people that the person is going to experience. But not only that, so we've talked about that in past episodes, and you can check for those episodes on the podcast list. But not only that, but like, what if somebody buys your work, buys your course, buys your program, takes your session or whatever, and they like never show up to it. They never open it. They never even take it. And you're receiving that money still because they entered into the purchase agreement, and they never even asked for a refund. They just paid for it, but they never opened it. They never enacted it. They never looked at it. Or it was like an in-person session, and like they didn't have the result. It didn't change right then and there. It didn't, like, you never heard back, and you never got that testimonial, and you received that money. So how does that make you feel? So if that happens, when that happens, how does that make you feel? Because how that makes you feel, what happens then is what you're avoiding by not selling your things. You're trying to avoid that. So for me, I discovered, like, I don't want that. That I feel guilty if that happens. I want people to have a result. I want them to open it. I want them to go through the process because I want them to have a result. Because if they have a result, then I will feel good and feel like it was worth it. And I won't feel guilty. And so part of me, my mind is like, I don't want any guilt. I'm not going to invite guilt in my life. F that. Like, I am not opening an invitation to some more guilt in my life. No thanks. Like, that part of my brain is like, no thanks. So I'm not going to let that manifest. I'm not going to let that come into my life. I'm not going to let that show up because it comes with guilt. It comes with a possibility of guilt. If people are buying more and more and more of my work, I have less and less and less control over what they do with that, how they're experiencing that. And not that I ever had any, but it just becomes more apparent when I'm selling more and more things that I have no control over their experience, and I can't like make sure. Now, this still applied to me when I did service-related work, where I was terrified that even though they hired me for this design project, that they weren't going to get the result. And again, I had to make peace with that because certain clients, they have the business to run. I'm just providing them with a design. They are the ones who are responsible for what they do with that. And it's the same thing over here, but it felt easier over there because it was more of a tactical thing that I was supplying, right? It was more of a tangible thing. But still, it didn't make any difference. There were some people who hired me for a very expensive website, and then they never launched it. And I put in the work, so I still got paid. So it was their choice. They entered the agreement to pay for the thing, but they decided to abandon their business for whatever reason. They decided to abandon their dream for whatever reason. And luckily that only happened a couple of times, but I'm glad it did, because I'm not glad for them, but I'm glad for the experience. For me, is what I learned is that I can't carry that. It's not my responsibility. It's not my business. It's their business. Like metaphorically and literally, it's their business, what they do. And then it allowed me such a beautiful opportunity. And again, I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again, that to recognize all the ways that I've done that. I have bought a lot of things that I was not, because when we buy things, put a pin in that, when we buy things of this nature that I'm talking about, we're buying our own dream of ourselves. So whether that's a piece of clothing or a session or a website or a course that's designed to help us feel better or be the person we want to be, we're buying our dream of ourselves. That's what we're buying. We're buying this feeling, and we're trying to borrow the benefit of that item. So if I buy a beautiful dress, then I'm borrowing the benefit of the way that dress is going to make me feel. I'm buying it so I can borrow that benefit. So I can live that reality of being the one in the flowy dress in the wind. Like, I want to be that one. So I'm always buying something with whatever I buy. And if I buy a course, then maybe I'm buying a peaceful feeling. I'm buying more ease. I'm buying a permission slip for myself to be my dream of myself. That's what I'm doing. And so we're always borrowing the benefit from somebody, but I have bought a lot of things, and I'm sure all of you can relate that you've bought a lot of things that you wanted to borrow the benefit of, but you were not ready to receive the benefit of. So I'll give an example. Some years ago, like when I first started doing like money mindset, and it was like, get yourself a cleaner, free up your time and energy so you can put more of your, energy into the work that you want. And that's true. And that's good. Like, you making choices like that changes your friggin' life. Like, making choices to take certain things off your plate so you can put your energy in other places pays back big for sure. But I was doing it for the wrong reasons, I feel, at that time. I was doing it for it was like a checkbox that I could tick off. Or something like that. It was like, I got a house cleaner and I feel good about myself now. So we tried that for a while, and I was not ready to receive the benefit of that. Here's how I know. Because we're super homebody introverts. And it actually caused me more stress to have to make arrangements for us and the dogs to go somewhere for a few hours on the days that the house was going to be cleaned, and make a plan and be out of the house on that day and schedule the time. I made it into a nightmare because I was not ready to receive that at that time. I needed it to still be hard on some level, I guess, or I was just trying to prove something, and it was causing myself more stress in trying to prove something. So eventually that just fell off. And now I retired my husband, and he cleans, and that works great because we're that works perfect. I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to make a plan. So when I was ready to receive that, the perfect way came in, where I don't even have to get dressed or leave the house. And we don't have a house that's the size where it's I'm going to go lock myself in the study while the cleaners are here. We have a little house still. And so that's how that worked for us. So that's a beautiful case in point of something that I was trying to borrow the benefit of, but I was not ready to receive. And I have bought courses and I have bought sessions that scared the crap out of me. I did one session and I was an anxiety came up and I quit. So I've been all these places in my life at different phases and points in my life where I was like, oh, this is kind of triggering and I don't want to do this. So there have been things that I have chosen to buy and then not been ready for, or chosen to buy and then decided I didn't like. And that was my business. I wasn't ready until I was ready. I thought I liked it and I didn't like it. Or I did like it, but it was triggering and I wasn't ready to feel that or heal that. Or whatever the case was. Like, there's been so many cases, from the thing just didn't work out, to I changed my mind, to I was too busy, to I was overwhelmed with other stuff, to I overwhelmed myself by buying too many things that I needed to take that I didn't have time to take all of them, or whatever it is. Like, we make it mean all these things. But when we look at all of the reasons why people don't do that, then we're able, and we take responsibility. So the way that I was able to do that is to take full responsibility for my own buying decisions and the things like, yeah, I didn't expect those people to give me my money back, and I didn't even feel it was a waste. That's just how I operate. I know a lot of people would, but I don't view money that way. I didn't feel that it was a waste. I just felt like, okay, just move on. Like, I just move on. Like, I kind of view it like I did what I needed to do for myself around this. I needed to not finish that because it was stressing me out. Okay, fine. And then I just let myself be where I am, and I love myself anyway, even though I'm like, I failed at this. I just quit on it, or whatever it is. Like, just love myself enough to be like, I tried it. I didn't want to do it right now. Maybe I'll come back to it. I don't know. But I did what I needed to do for me. Money well spent. I made a decision for myself. I made another decision for myself right after that. Like, it's fine. But I take responsibility for what I choose and what I buy. It's not their fault. It's not the company's fault. It's not the dressmaker's fault. It's not the course maker's fault. It's not the energy healer session's fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just like, I chose something, and for whatever reason, it didn't agree with me in some way, shape, or form, and I chose something else. So when I take full responsibility for that, then I can recognize that other people might have a whole host of reasons that I have no idea about. It's not my responsibility. It's not my job. My responsibility ended with the creation of the work and the offering of the work. That's where it ended. Because I don't promise a certain result, nor did I with my website and design contracts, which I explicitly built into the language. You are responsible for your results. Here's what I'm providing, and you are responsible for your results. And when I had the courage to do that in my business, which I was very young at the time, and I was really scared at the time to even say that. But as soon as I did, it created so much safety and so much peace for myself. Just huge peace. And I could be like, okay, so they know and I know. Like, everybody's in the know that they're making their own choices here. And they're responsible for their own choices. I am, and they are. And that just was so helpful. So, all of this to say, if you are feeling like that might be a subconscious block of yours, like, I really want to make sure they get the value. I really am worried. What if they don't get the result? Like, make peace with the fact that you cannot control that. You cannot control what results happen. You can only give the gift that you have come to give in the way that you've come to give it, and come back to your own business and have your own experience of that, and let them have their own experience of that. And like, take yourself through the process of, okay, so what if somebody is like, literally says, hey, I'm really unhappy and blah, blah, blah. Then what? Like, I'm so disappointed. Your work sucks. It's not going to feel funny. Like, if that happens, when that happens, if that happens, then what's going to happen? I'm going to be really hurt. I'm human. My heart is going to hurt. It is going to sting. And then I'm going to probably cry. I'm going to break down maybe. I'm going to get myself support, like immediately. I might have some emotional reactions, which I'm going to share with my husband, people closest to me, my sister, people I trust, who I can be myself with, and just feel my feelings. And then I'm going to get myself support until I have moved that emotion through, and then I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Like, taking yourself through that can be really helpful to neutralize what you're trying to avoid. Because when we're trying to avoid something, we're attached. And when we're attached, we are not able to create and manifest the things that we want, because we're just really hung on to one thing and really resisting another thing. And our energy is just not flowing. And then that space is not open to receiving. So, and when you're in that and you recognize that you're in that and you don't really know how to clear it up, like, try these exercises where you look at some reasons why you've bought things and not followed through, why you've got things and not get results. And did you blame the person, or did you just kind of like just go through that experience for you, and then go through the experience of what's going to happen if the worst thing happens? Go feel it out to the end until you're okay again, because you're always going to be okay again. And most of the time, all the time, you're even better off, because now you can hold stuff like that and you can still love yourself through it, and you're not as threatened, which means your nervous system gets to relax, which means you live in greater peace, which is the main benefit, really, to me. That's the huge benefit. That's the hugest benefit you can get. Because that's the basis for any kind of joy that you might have after that. Like, you got to have some semblance of stability and peace and love underneath that to be able to experience some real, lightness and fun and joy and things like that. So if you have had the experience where people bought your work and then they weren't enacting it, and they weren't getting the result, and you recognize, maybe I stopped myself. Maybe I stopped myself energetically even from letting any more of that kind of work in, because I felt like I needed to do it all and like be standing there with them and like making sure that they got the exact thing and like pointing them out through the process and explaining everything. And like, you can't. You cannot do that. But think of it like a book, right? People buy books every day by the billions of books all over the world. And the author cannot stand in the room with them and explain what they mean by this or that or the other, and like say, hang in there till chapter 4 where it gets really, like, they can't do it. People enter into that contract of buying that book, which is an experience. They're buying an experience, and then they either put it aside, they never open it, or not. But that was their choice. Your work is the same way. It's like that book. It doesn't matter how expensive it is, because people do the same thing with lots of other expensive experiences that they buy for themselves. They buy themselves like a beautiful gown, and then they never wear it out, or whatever. So the more you can like neutralize that, the better that's going to flow. All right. I hope that was helpful. It was helpful to me to reiterate it. Okay. Bye. Oh, and P.S. Imagine if a doctor was worried about the results so much that they didn't do their doctoring. They can't. A doctor who's completely, has like 12 years of schooling and training and all this, like, they cannot guarantee results. Nobody can guarantee results of any kind. We do what we can. We do what we can to fix what we're offering to fix, or to meet the need that's offering to be met, or to make the person feel a certain way, or just to delight the person, because a lot of things we buy is just for the delight of it, just for the experience of it, just for the joy of it. But think about just even a doctor. I just had to pop on here and share that. Like even a doctor, like imagine if they wouldn't do their appointments because the patient might not get the result. They have no idea what result the patient's going to get. Some things are cut and dry, but other things not at all. And even when they seem cut and dry, like you come in with this infection, I'm going to give you an antibiotic, it's going to clear up. They actually have no idea how that's going to go. The person could have a reaction, the person could not take their medication, anything. Okay? So every single kind of work in the world is the same, including yours. So you're not going to be a special case where 100% of the people that buy your work do all of the work, completely enact it exactly right, and get the maximum amazing result. As much as you may want that, all you can do is set your intention, give what you have to give that you feel will offer that, what has offered it to you, however that feels, and the right matches for that will happen. And when somebody needs to go another way with it, it's okay. It's okay. All right, off soapbox now. Thanks for joining me today. And if you'd like to find out more about me and my work, you can find me at sunnichapman.com.